Hey everybody, and welcome to the 2024 Chairman's Choice Awards. For me, this is the best of board gaming of 2024, and I will caveat this by saying that these games aren't necessarily released in 2024. These are all games that I played for the first time in 2024. Now I have 15 different categories here to run through, and I will be, of course, announcing the winner of each category as well as two runners up. Now before I get started, I want to give a shout out to the show's sponsor, KIENDA.co.uk, who are my go-to online retailer, and if you use the link in the show notes or the QR code, then you can get 5% off your first order. But let's start with best artwork of 2024. And I've noticed that the kind of artwork that I like seems to be similar to each other. I kind of like this hyper-realistic, cartoony style art. So the winner of the artwork of the year goes to Far Away. Lovely kind of Studio Ghibli style artwork, very vibrant, kind of cool, quirky characters, all of which are unique on these cards, and they just look fantastic. So love the visual appeal of Far Away. Runners up go to Caper Europe and Ironwood. Let's move on to card game of the year. So a big category for me because I love my card games, and the card game of the year goes to Veil of Eternity. One of my favourite games this year, so nominated for several other awards. Wonderful little tableau builder with tons of synergizing cards to try and score as many points as possible. Runners up going to Match of the Century and Castle Combo. Let's move on to Hidden Gem of the Year. So these are games that I don't really hear talked about, games that haven't really blown up in terms of their popularity. And the winner of the Hidden Gem of the Year award goes to Raise. So Raise, really interesting little wagering style game. As you're playing cards, you climb this track, trying to hold your nerve and make other players drop out so you can score the most points. Runners up going to Clink and Gap. Let's move on to co-op game of the year, and I'll be honest, I haven't played too many co-ops, so this is a slightly weaker category, but the winner of the cooperative game goes to Quicksand, a nice real-time game, frantic as you're flipping these sand timers over, trying to progress through these different missions. Runners up going to Sky Team and Dr. Panic. Moving on to two-player game of the year, and I have to say this was the strongest year ever for two-player only games that I played for the first time. So many could have made this top three, but the winner of the two-player only category goes to Patterns, a mandala game. So the second of the mandala series. I love this abstract strategy game as you're moving these tokens around trying to create different groups. As good, if not better, than the original. Runners up going to Katarenga and Match of the Century. So two awards missed out there on Match of the Century. Let's move on to abstract strategy game of the year, and it's another win for Patterns. Runners up going to Katarenga again, and also Devon of the GIF series. Let's move on to filler game of the year, and I've kind of categorized this as a game that takes 30 minutes or below to play, and the winner of the filler game of the year goes to Castle Combo. A lovely little tableau builder as you're building up a 3x3 grid of these character cards, trying to score as many points as possible. Runners up going to Our Eco as well as Far Away. Let's move on to Euro strategy game of the year. Definitely a big one for me. You know, I love my Euros, and at number one is Civolution. So Stefan Fell doing what he does best here. Definitely his most ambitious and epic game yet. Lots going on here, and it lived up to its expectations for me, certainly. Runners up very narrowly going to Terra Pyramides and Carson City. Some other games just falling behind that. Let's move on to unique game of the year. So one of my favourite categories, And the winner of the unique game of the year goes to Lacuna, another 2-player only game. This game is all about geometry as you're scattering these different tokens on this big mat, and you're trying to place your little markers in between 2 identical tokens, taking them as your scoring pile, and then everything remaining on the board goes to the player whose marker is closest to those tokens. Super interesting. Runners up going to Zertz and Dropolta. Let's go on to surprise of the year. So these are games that I certainly was not expecting to like as much as I did. The winner going to Inori. So congratulations to Inori. A nice lightweight worker placement game where the scoring opportunities change based on the tokens that you've collected. Runners up going to Pioneer Rails and Clink. So a couple nominations there for Clink. Let's move on to family weight game of the year. So for me, these are games with a nice approachable theme, and they're not filler games either. So I've kind of discounted filler games here. And the winner of the family game category goes to Harmonies. Harmonies, a shoo-in for this award, really. A nice spatial puzzle, placing these little wooden tokens around, trying to score as many of these animal cards as possible. Very close run-up going to Fairy Ring, and also Wandering Towers by Kramer and Kiesling. Let's move on to the main categories now. So I've broken these down into 3 different categories, being light game of the year, midway game of the year, as well as involved game of the year. And of course, this is subjective. What I might class as an involved game might be a light game to you, but this is my award, so I choose what the categories are. And I also, of course, finish up with the game of the year. So let's start with the light game of the year. The winner of that award is another win for the Veil of Eternity. I've already spoken about how great this little tableau builder is. Runners up going to Patterns and the Foundations of Metropolis. Let's go to midweight game of the year. The winner of that award is Rebirth. Definitely my favourite game of 2024 in terms of being a new release. Runners up going to Juraku and Terra Pyramides. And finally, we'll finish up with the involved game of the year. And the winner of that award, a second award for Civolution. Definitely well fitted to this category. Lots going on here. Very complex game, but brilliant. Runners up going to Carson City and Windmill Valley. And let's finish up with the overall game of the year. It's been a fantastic year, so much competition. And the winner of the game of the year goes to Rebirth. Knizia won the award after all these years. Fantastic game, still putting out absolute classics. Runners up going to Juraku and the Veil of Eternity. So that's it, that concludes all of the awards. It's been a fantastic year for board gaming for me personally. Played so many of my favourite games and discovered so many great ones. Just a few honourable mentions here, ones that I'm so surprised did not even make a nomination despite being of an extremely high quality. Games like Marabunta didn't even get nominated because it didn't quite break that top 3. Games like Gold West, The Lost Code, Spectacular, Tower Up, Yinch, Kathmandu, Babel. So yeah, lots of fantastic games here that didn't quite break the top 3 of each of these categories. But hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel and check out my other content too. But for everybody else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye-bye.